Welcome back. As we promised our dear viewers that our main topic of this episode of The Breakfast Show is going to be a very important gathering, which took place from the 14th to the 16th of December in the wonderful Upper Egypt city of Luxor. Tens, if not hundreds, of Egyptians who were living abroad and who decided to continue their life there, but when Egypt came to, or comes to their mind, because it's already coming to their mind in every single minute, in every single day, they think about Egypt not as a country which is that far, it's their homeland, and they are going to return back. And they are going to do whatever it takes to benefit this country, to benefit the Egyptians. And when it comes to their health, nothing is more valuable. This was a very important gathering discussing oncology, and we are very much delighted to have with us one of the experts who was there, who attended the gathering, and who has a lot to speak about. So we are going to start immediately, as we do have a very important dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Nagla Karim, Associate Professor of Medicine, Associate Director of Experimental Therapeutics, Division of Hematology and Oncology, Department of Medicine, University of Cincinnati, Ohio. Thank you very much for your input. Thank you very much for being with us, ma'am.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
First of all, before I start off with my first question, I'm personally very proud of you as a female Egyptian who have made it to take one of the leading front lines in oncology in the United States. You are a very successful caliber that every Egyptian is proud of. And I'm sure that Americans are also feel the same thing about you. You have come a long way, and I don't understand why until this very moment Egypt is being deprived to make the best use of you people. I mean, to enjoy the fruits of people who were born on our land. And hopefully one day we'll be able that you can come over and be our own, only our own, and practice your own science to the best interest of Egyptians and all humanity. My first question to you, this is the first gathering of its own kind, and it is situated in Luxor. And if you can elaborate on your paper that you are participating with in this very important gathering, how did it add to you, or did you add to it? I mean, explain to us.
Actually, I think the location of the conference was a wonderful idea. Luxor, Egypt. It's one of the most wonderful cities in the whole entire world. So I did enjoy so much being there. I did enjoy meeting all my prior mentors, professors. I did enjoy meeting even colleagues, students. So I think it was a great networking opportunity. And I think having this networking is a power by itself. So if we can work together, this is great. And as you mentioned, we were born on this land. So it's very, very important that we have to help, support, pay back a lot to Egypt. So I want to say that one of our conversations that we just talked about is that Egypt lives in us. It's not that we just lived here and left. No, Egypt still lives in us. So we always think about how to help and how to collaborate. So collaboration is a wonderful opportunity, and as you mentioned, being a woman, I think it's great to show the West that Egyptian women, we had the history, but we still are existing in the present. So it's not that the Egyptian woman was a queen in the past and then now disappeared. No, we still have a good role in the community. So that's the second thing I want to mention. The third thing is we did have a lot of ideas that we came up at the end as conclusion. So we said that, really, really we have to continue collaborating together. A lot of preclinical research was done already, but we still need to get from the bench to the bedside. We have to really get a lot of solutions to the challenges that we have here. So we put together our challenges and we put solutions into those challenges. And one of the most important things is to have our own research, and at the same time we can collaborate so much to teach how to get into clinical trials, more early research, and also prevention, we want talk about like challenges like smoking, how to make awareness for the population.
Before going
and so
into
on.
these details, Dr. Karim, because when people, I mean here, the simple citizens, knew about such gatherings, first thing which came to my mind, how should they know about the circumstances or the surroundings of Egyptians while they were abroad for years and decades? Of course, they forgot all about the pollution we are suffering from, about the unfortunate chemical fertilizers, which are unfortunately, or pesticides, or you name it, which unfortunately polluted our food, for example, for a while. And this is a main cause of cancer. How they knew about the shortages of medications, or that we are not that much coping with the most recent medications, with the most recent qualified and approved ingredients. When you were asked about this as an Egyptian, an expatriate, how have you collected the data? How have you collected the circumstances, the atmosphere, to be able to judge well how to treat a patient? I mean, a Canadian of course, cancer is cancer everywhere, but an American citizen is not like an Egyptian citizen when it comes to pollution, for example. And this is something which we should admit. This equation, how have you solved it?
Okay, so first of all, of course, we say that people living in different circumstances have their own challenges. So one of the challenges that I saw here, because of course I come visit Egypt a lot, I have my family here, I see the pollution coming from smoking, especially indoor smoking, like smoking inside, houses, restaurants, things like that, and different types of smoking. We see it. Even my kids, when they come, like they're surprised, because in the U.S. It's completely abandoned. We cannot have smoking in enclosed places, because that's going to add more pollution and second-hand smoke. So that is very, very irritating, and that's very challenging, and is a cause of cancer. Different types of cancers happen from smoking, including lung cancer, bladder cancer, head and neck cancer, you name it, plus also heart diseases and so on. So we have, this is one challenge, and I put like number one challenge is smoking. So, and this is a primary prevention. Primary prevention means that I can prevent the cancer from happening from the beginning.
Cutting the circle.
Exactly. So of course smoking is not the only thing, but it's one thing that we can prevent. It's very easy, because other countries did it. We can do it. Like, we can make people, of course, you want to smoke, just please go outside, and you have this whole corner yours, but please, leave the kids, leave the children, leave the women, pregnant women, everybody away from the secondhand smoke. So this is number one. We can also build smoking cessation programs within maybe universities, maybe, community, so that to support the smokers to quit the smoking, help them, give them ideas, give them, maybe nicotine patch, gums, things like that. So that's number one. The second challenge also that we have is that we don't have lung cancer screening programs, and that is happening there. It's not happening here. Of course, a lot of people are going to say about the expenses. However, if you think about it, expenses of having a small tumor removed is much cheaper than having the expenses of very, very expensive medications that can kill somebody. So that's number two. And I'm just saying that, of course, it needs a lot of expertise, and not everybody can make a lung cancer screening program. It has to have very specialized centers. And we came about ideas that we can do this. The third challenge, as you mentioned, was about medications, because they are very, very expensive. So we can build up our own research, clinical research. Types of research, sometimes we can have clinical trials that can have those drugs for free, for example, or we can have our own, like you have, for example, preclinical trials that are taking place in very good places here in basic science. We can translate this into bench to the bedside. We can get it to our patients, have our own ideas, train the people. Don't be scared. If you have, a good suggestion or idea in research, write it down, make logics, and take it into reality and build up phase 1, 2, 3 clinical trials. We can do it. It's not that hard, and that's what I was taught to do over there, and that's my job. So that's the experimental therapeutics, basically.
Right. Let me take it to another level. I mean, before I get into my second question, Nermeen mentioned a very smart point, which is a comparison between the daily life here and the all-out atmosphere between Egyptians and Egyptian citizen and an American one. But let me just draw to the attention of everyone that here it's much, however, I totally understand that there is pollution, but there is also organic food that Americans, they don't have full hand to enjoy. I mean, all food is processed there, and it's hormone injected, and even the organic food is very, very expensive. Only the rich people come to reach organic food. It's selling, I mean, special places. We are enjoying the best quality of food. I mean, chicken, I mean, poultry, and meat, and fruits, of
vegetables.
course. Everything that is organic, which is very, very healthy. And the processed food, it's the #1 cause for cancer, in my modest knowledge. But let me go to my second question, which is very different from this. You studied in Egypt. You did study in Egypt?
I did, of course, and I'm very, very proud.
The whole of your life, I mean, until university?
Yes.
You graduated from?
Yeah, I'm a graduate of Qasr Al Aini, University of Cairo. I'm very proud of that. And when my patients in the U.S. actually ask me, where do you, I mean, basically they do ask, which medical school did you graduate from? And it's an honor because I tell them I graduated from University of Cairo, from Egypt. And they say, oh my God, they did a great job.
Right.
So the patients are very proud that their doctor is graduated from University of Cairo, Egypt, because even I teach students, I have a lot of trainees and so on from
in
there.
the United States.
Exactly, but then basic education
they did a good job.
Exactly.
But what happened after they did the good job? I mean,
so
why did not you continue after doing the good job? What happened? Why did you have to leave Egypt?
So I studied here. I studied until even very advanced. I did my training, and I had wonderful mentors, Dr. Rabab Gaf. I mean, they're like, I'm so proud of them. I even invite them there to my university. The problem is I really wanted to do more of phase 1 clinical trials, a lot of things that I want to write my own clinical trials. So of course I couldn't do it here. So I traveled because I wanted to do more research. Yes.
You couldn't do it here. Why?
Because here we had until phase 2 clinical trials. But if you want to tell patients, the culture is different. You can't have an idea and write it down as a clinical trial and tell them, I want to have this drug or this to be tested on patients. So I can do this there because there it's very scientific oriented.
You test it on patients?
On patients, yes, because now it's very effective on cell lines. It's very effective on animals, and sometimes these drugs are already approved for a disease. But I want to make sure that we can still try it on other diseases.
But let me interfere here. I mean, can you excuse me, Nermeen, that some states have banned testing on animals. I mean, this is a reservation also.
They don't do banning of testing animals.
It's illegal to test on animals. I mean, that's because of animal rights.
They have just regulations. So we have a lot of animal studies and cell studies. I don't work myself in a lab, but I collaborate with labs. So the thing is, you always have those steps to do.
So you have to have hazardous.
No, you have to have animal studies before we go to human beings, definitely. So we have to have cell lines. You have to have a good hypothesis, which is the good idea that this drug is going to work. So there's million of drugs every day that come for cancer. Yeah. It's not like a big deal. I mean, it's not something that someone is just discovering something crazy. It's like millions of drugs are being in the pipeline every day. So they test it on cells first. They see that the cells are being killed by this drug. They move to the animal studies, and then after that they can change to the humans.
Let's return back to the gathering of Luxor. And as far as I know, that it gathered a lot, or at least to be accurate, la crème de la crème, or a lot of big names like Dr. Mustafa Said. Professor Dr. Mustafa Said for us is an icon. And to know that he's still working till the moment, and he has a lot still to give, and using the nano gold to treat cancer, and to try all the time to move from a place to the other all over the globe to benefit humanity with this kind of achievement or scientific goal he is working for. Tell me more about those icons. Tell me more about being in contact with people like Dr. Mustafa Said, whether here in Egypt or there in America. Are you, I mean, all the time in contact, for example? Are you following the research and the results of what they're doing? Let's know.
So Dr. Mustafa Said, actually it's a great opportunity for networking, as I mentioned, in Luxor. I have not met him in the US, but I met him in Luxor, and we did talk together about this is great to have preclinical research in Egypt, because a lot of times we have basic scientists doing wonderful things, but the thing is you want to always, you know, take it from the bench, as I mentioned, to the bedside, so we can have drugs, our own drugs, our medications to treat our patients. So I think Dr. Mustafa Said's research is very, very important. I would say that I grew up in a family all from the National Research Center. My dad and my mom were professors there. So I grew up with the research, and I felt that the basic scientists are so important. My thing here, or the key that I want to, you know, say today, is that we always want Dr. Mustafa Said's work to produce real transfer from the bench or from the lab to come to reality, to real life, to the human beings. And this way, of course, it's very difficult to do without having involvement of very specialized physicians who can work together and collaborate to build up trials, again, phase 1, because phase 1 to find the expected dose that can work well with no toxicities.
I mean, is it an idea, for example, to have a community for Egyptian oncology doctors,
yes,
for example, there in the States, to be able all the time to connect together, to know more about your own studies?
Right.
I mean, when you said that you've not seen Dr. Mustafa Said except here,
yes,
and you were both in America, I think if you were in contact there and here, it's going to be more efficient, at least on the ground, with more tangible results, I mean.
I think we have to do this. I already set a Facebook group for Egyptians in the US, just for us to support and know each other. And it's very small. I need help, basically, to have more people. The problem is we have other communities that support each other more, like, you know, Indians, maybe Chinese, you know, other nationalities.
They started earlier.
They started earlier because Egyptians never wanted to travel abroad, I tell you. Like, the generations of grandfathers, grandmothers, parents, and so on, they always wanted to stay in Egypt. So we don't have very old generations in the US like the other nationalities. But I think it's very important that we connect together, because I think we're not very well connected. Some of us are, like in some states, but not all of us. So that's true.
But here is the point. You said Egyptians in the, in the 60s and 70s, for example, they did not like to travel abroad. Now the new generations, or the generations that followed, tend somehow to leave Egypt and seek their oats outside. Right. So how do you justify this? You as an immigrant, why did you have to leave Egypt? And while on the other end, other generations, you felt that they prefer to stay?
That's correct. In the other generations, they just found all their dreams here. Unfortunately, of course, in our generations, we had other dreams, so that's why we wanted to leave. So I always like solutions. So how to help us get a solution so that Egyptians remain and stay, get them to have their dreams here. So, for example, listen to them. So if I listen to my kids, what do they want? I always want them to, tell me and open up. And if I am able to provide them with even half of their dreams, they're going to stay.
Right.
Well, ma'am, after any gathering like that, a conference event, you name it, there should be a final communique,
yes,
or the final communique with the recommendations, with things to be done, with the coming conference to take place. Would you please give us a brief idea about this final communique?
So final, I had put together a few things, and I mentioned already about the challenges and solutions. It's so good to make the smoke programs, lung cancer screening programs, and in addition to that, it will be very good if we have, as Dr. Mustafa said, visiting scientists in lab. For example, if they want to come, we can open up for them like 1 to 4 weeks a year or something. They can just visit and even collaborate or even brainstorming ideas. Like sometimes sitting down with other scientists here, and they think about very useful, information or so on. They can share it together. Also, physicians, I think it's so good idea, like visiting doctors, if you have a good hospital. For example, in Luxor, we visited Shifa Al-Orman, we visited the Cancer Institute in Qina, and that is awesome. So if you like in any of those even hospitals to invite physicians, especially the Egyptians, because we know the language, so we can sit with the patients, we can, talk to them and
socialize even.
So exactly, yeah. So we can help them and we can tell them everything. Like, come on, I'm treating, the patients there and I'm treating here, but we can socialize also with the doctors, but not also socialize, but also tell some medical opinions. I'm not saying that you have to force anything. If it's very expensive or it's not realistic or something, don't do it, but we can have programs for visiting physicians, even 1 to 4 weeks a year or something. In our time that we come here, we can volunteer and donate time, because donating time, I think, is something very, very important. Plus, in addition to that, projects, like, a lot of good ideas and projects, if we can just encourage them. And that is, something that can answer the question about dreams, because if you have a project and you just, think this project is like your son or daughter, you will just continue to work on it, and you will feel your dream is coming true. So, and that will keep a lot of people in their place very happy.
Well, Dr. Nagla Abdelkarim, Associate Professor of Medicine at the University of Cincinnati, would like to thank you very much. Wish you the best of luck with all your dreams and all what you're seeking everywhere in the world. And of course, we're sure that one day you're going to come back to Egypt after giving all those dreams a shot and effected here.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed my vacation, and I enjoyed also the conference, and I enjoyed meeting everybody, especially this winter. I think it's been so many winters that passed away without being in Egypt, but I loved those days.
You're most welcome. Tomorrow is another day, and we are going to leave you, ma'am, with a promise to see you again on Nile TV International screen in your coming vacation, inshallah. Thank you very much. Right after the short break, we are going to be back always with more, so stay tuned only on Nile TV International.
God Anubis was highly revered and sanctified by